Hello and welcome back to another video on the F1 Journal and to my predictions for the 2023 Drivers' Championship. It's finally upon us, the new season is here, I'm so bloody hyped, the 2023 season, it looks like an interesting one. Red Bull may have an advantage at the top, but maybe that will get eaten away into the season, or maybe they won't even start as favourite. The midfield look condensed, so it's a tough one to predict. Let's get straight into it, starting with 20th place and last. And yeah, I don't think too many surprises here. I've gone for Logan Sargeant. Yeah, I've said it on many times. I think Sargeant maybe will surprise a few of the people who kind of expecting him just to be a repeat of Latifi. I think he's much more than that. He's proved it. He took Oscar Piastri all the way 2020 F3, had some hardships, but still managed to get to F1. So yeah, credit to him. Really, it will be tough first season against Alex Albon in what's probably going to be a car at the rear end of the field. So yeah, unfortunately I'm going to have him taking the wooden spoon this season. But in 19th I've gone for ZHOU GUANYU. Yeah, you kind of feel like it's a make or break year for ZHOU GUANYU. Obviously he didn't have a bad rookie season last year. It's just, you know, when the car was good, he was still adapting, and yeah, it meant he didn't quite pick up as many points. Finishing 19th, needs to get a bit close to BOTTAS because there are lots of options. The likes of Portier in F2, still a Sauber young driver. Mick Schumacher as well with outcoming Audi. They've openly said they want a German driver, so there is going to be pressure, and he does need to step up on this year. Can he do it? I guess time will tell. Moving on then to 18th, and that's Alex Albon for me. Yeah, I think it's going to be a year where Alex Albon may unfortunately again kind of be held back by the machinery he has. Because yeah, I think his driving talents are definitely better than 18th place on the grid. He proved that last year. So yeah, that will be frustrating. I'm expecting Williams to take a step, and hopefully he can fight for Q2, Q3 a bit more often, maybe even and pick up some more points. But yeah, I do think Williams will be a bit further in the midfield, but maybe not quite enough to close the gap. In 17th place, I've gone for YUKI TSUNODA, and kind of like ZHOU GUANYU, yeah, you feel like it's another make or break year for him, because obviously if he loses to Nyck de Vries, a rookie, with how he's kind of been outperformed by Gasly in the last few seasons, you do really feel like, despite obvious pace, raw pace he's got, it could well be over for him in F1. So yeah, he really does need to deliver. Can he step it up? I'm not so sure. I don't know. I still feel like there's so many errors in it. Maybe he can have one good day that takes him above Nick and all of that, but I'm not sure. In 16th, I've gone for Nico Hulkenberg. Yeah, I'm going to say Nico Hulkenberg will do all right on his F1 return. It may take him a while to get up to speed. I mean, he was out of the sport for 3 years of full-time drive. Fernando Alonso was out for 2 years. No disrespect for Hulkenberg, but Alonso is a better driver than him, and it took him a while. So it will take Hulkenberg a while. I've got no doubts about that. But when he does get into it, we know what Hulkenberg likes. He may probably get a podium, but he will deliver some consistent points if the car's available. And I think that's what we can do once he gets into speed. In 15th, I've gone for Nyck de Vries. Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what Nyck de Vries does this season. For me, I think it's long overdue he gets the F1 opportunity. An F2 champion, an FE champion, not much more he could have done. But yeah, coming into the team, there will be pressure on him straight from the off. Maybe he'll feel the responsibility as a team leader even. But yeah, he's coming into it with plenty of experience, and yeah, I think he will be able to hit the ground running relatively swiftly. He's had a lot of experience in F1 cars recently, and I'm going to say he will have just enough decent days to finish ahead of Yuki. Moving on to 14th, and that's Kevin Magnussen. Yeah, I kind of feel the same about K-Mag then as Hulkenberg. As long as K-Mag can, you know, stay out of that one instance, battling Lewis Hamilton or something like that. Yeah, that's what he needs to do, and I'm sure he'll have a successful season then, and bring home the points on a regular basis for Haas, which is exactly what they've got two experienced drivers for, and hopefully move them up in the Constructors' Championship potentially. Moving on into 13th, and that is Valtteri Bottas. And yeah, Bottas, I don't know, it's an interesting one this season because he kind of seemed to fall away. He had a brilliant first half of the season. I don't know if it was just with the car or if it was maybe performance as well. But yeah, I mean, his big few years for Bottas because he needs to still be there by the time the Audi partnership comes around. Hopefully for his sake he will be. And yeah, I think he'll be the team leader. It's just a question of how fast that car will be. If it's in a regular team, I can see him picking up some solid points decently because we all know how good he is. Moving on then to 12th, and that's Lance Stroll. And yeah, this is kind of a tough one to predict because obviously there's multiple factors coming into this. Obviously, will he be fit for the first few races, which kind of seems a bit unlikely. But yeah, how competitive will the Aston Martin be? How long will it take him to get up to speed? So yeah, it's kind of an interesting question, but I can see him, I can't see the midfield in two little groups. I feel like with the setbacks he's had, even if the Aston may be like the 4th, 5th fastest car, that may kind of set him back a bit. Moving on into 11th, and that's Oscar Piastri. So excited to see what Oscar Piastri can do. Obviously, I feel like it will take him a bit of a while to get up to speed. He deserves that time just to settle in. We've seen what happened to Ricciardo, a year off, probably 6 months without even being in the paddock with everything that went down. But once he gets up to speed, we've seen how good he can be in F2, F3, back-to-back winners of junior series. Not many drivers do that. So yeah, I'm so hyped to see what he could do. And yeah, I don't think he'll quite be on Lando's pace, but I don't think he'll be far off. In 10th, I've gone for Pierre Gasly. And yeah, this is a really interesting season for Gasly for me, because obviously he moved to Red Bull 2019, didn't work out for him. Toro Rosso really seems to be the place where he's comfortable. Can he prove that with a very good teammate in Esteban Ocon, he can match him and be a really solid midfield driver away from AlphaTauri? I think he can. I think he may take a bit of time to adapt and may drop a bit behind Ocon, but I think he'll recover and be quite close to him in the end. In 9th, I'm going to say it will be Lando Norris. And yeah, this kind of depends on a lot of things for Norris. Obviously, if he has the car capable, he will be at the front of the midfield. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We saw that last year, the year before. But yeah, the question is, will he have the car available? It looks at least for the first few races he doesn't, and that could well leave him playing a bit of catch up. How will he take on the responsibility of team leader? I think he'll take it on well. But yeah, it's just a question of the car maybe holding him back in the first few races. I can see him covering well and still finishing inside the top 10 in the World Championship. In 8th for me is Esteban Ocon. And yeah, Ocon coming into this one, I mean, obviously he was slightly fortuitous to beat Fernando Alonso. I think that's fair to say. But on the whole, he still did very, very well. To beat a two-time world champion. And yeah, Alpine, I kind of feel like he is the team leader now with Gasly adapting. And Alpine seems to be in a relatively solid position for testing. So after testing, so yeah, I think he'll be coming to this season full of confidence. Kind of feel like it's more as his team now. And yeah, I think he'll have another good season. Ocon. In 7th, I've gone for Fernando Alonso. And yeah, this really is dependent on a lot of things. If that Aston Martin is as good as they're saying, I feel like he will be closer, definitely, to some of the top 6. But I still think he'll finish 7th. Because there may be Aston Martin development curve might not be as good as Big 3 and all of that, but yeah, I still think Alonso will have a great season. 41 years old, he's still an incredible racing driver, and yeah, I think he'll be right at the top of the midfield, fighting for regular points and maybe even podiums. 6th place for me is Carlos Sainz, and yeah, this is an interesting one. Carlos Sainz, obviously it took him a bit of time to adapt to the Ferrari last year, but once he did, he was very solid. But still without that Lewis Hamilton mechanical failure in Abu Dhabi, he still would have finished 6th in the championship. And yeah, I'm expecting the Mercedes to be a lot more competitive this year. So yeah, Sainz with the Red Bull, I think he's maybe a bit better than Perez, but the Red Bull seems to have the superior car. So yeah, for Sainz of the Big 3, I think he may well end up being at the back of that pack this year. In 5th place, I've gone for Sergio Perez. And yeah, this is kind of, I think Red Bull will have the fastest car this year, but I think this could be a consequence of Red Bull moving more towards Max's favourable development. And yeah, we've seen Checo really struggles with that. So yeah, that could harm Checo this season. He'll have the pressure of Daniel Ricciardo lingering over him potentially. So yeah, I can see it being a bit of a tough season for Checo. But yeah, he needs to be in there consistently because Red Bull needs to win the Constructors' Championship once more. In 4th place, I've gone for George Russell. And yeah, Russell coming into this season, obviously beating Lewis Hamilton, probably over the course of the season. He wasn't quite on his level, but certain things did go his way. And yeah, in the end he beat him, which is an incredible achievement. Can he back it up? It will be tough, because I think Hamilton will come back fighting this season, but I'm still expecting him to have a very good season. If he can just maintain that consistency that he showed last season, then he's going to be on for another good season. Hopefully the Mercedes is more competitive, so he can see him fighting for P1s a lot more often. In 3rd place, I've gone for Charles Leclerc. And yeah, Charles Leclerc coming into this season, obviously 2nd place in the championship last season. He'll be hoping Ferrari have kind of got over all of their issues from last season, and he will have a car at the opening that can take the fight to Max, because if he can, needs to cut out a few crashes, but he's shown he's got the pace to compete with them. Will all of that happen? I don't know. It just feels a bit too good to be true for Ferrari to get rid of all of these issues. New team principal bedding in. I don't know. I think Ferrari have a solid car, but maybe not one that can compete for the title. Moving on to second, and that is Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, I think Hamilton will come back this season, almost back to his best. He had kind of a year off last year, testing parts, trying to sort out that car. Now the W14 is in a much more solid place, I would say. Not as fast as Red Bull, but it does sound like they've got some big upgrades coming. And yeah, I think we're really going to see Lewis Hamilton take the fight to Max Verstappen, maybe not over the full course of the season, but we'll certainly see him pick up multiple race wins in a much improved Mercedes towards the end of the season, which could challenge a Red Bull. But in number one, for me, at the moment, I want there to be more doubt over it, but I don't think there is at the moment. I think it's going to be Max Verstappen. Yeah. For me, he's the best driver on the grid at the moment. Absolutely remarkable season last year. Ridiculous number of race wins. The consistency was unreal. That Red Bull team is just working so well. And yeah, it's hard to look past him, really. Red Bull starting off on a very good ground. So yeah, I think Max Verstappen will come into the season as heavy favourites. But yeah, you can't rule out Mercedes, Ferrari. Still good, great competitors. But yeah, definitely Verstappen's to lose. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Notice all the comments down below. Follow and share for daily F1 news and subscribe to the channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.